Good morning, digital designers. Happy Friday. And today I've got a fun digital drawing exercise for you that I think I'm going to put up on Classroom as an extra credit. One of the things that I hope that I can do in this class is show you that there are techniques that you can learn to help make you a better artist. And even if you feel like you don't have a lot of drawing ability or you struggle with drawing, there's some simple tricks that you can learn to make this process easier and actually start learning some techniques. So I'm going to share with you this head drawing template that I created in Photoshop. And the way this is set up, you see that there's a folder here of guides, and that's basically all the stuff that's in the background. And I've locked it up because you don't really need to touch this. This is just kind of a template for you to use. And in the middle of this template, I've created some guidelines here for a technique called the Loomis Method. And the Loomis Method was developed as a way for illustrators to accurately draw the head and put all the different pieces of our head, like our eyes, nose, and mouth, in the correct place. So what I can do with this template is walk you through, and I've got a great video that goes along with this, of how to sketch in and draw all the different parts of the head, like you're putting together a puzzle. So I'm going to use my brush tool for this, and I'm going to use my basic pencil. I recommend one of these soft pencils here just because it's going to give you a nice smooth line for sketching. And you'll see that there's a layer in this template called Sketch here that's already set up for you. It's a blank layer hovering above all this other stuff. And what we're going to do is just sketch in the different parts of the head. Okay, so let's start up here. This is the top of the head, and I'm just going to put a little soft pencil mark right there. This is going to be the bottom of the jaw. This right here is going to be the bottom of the nose, kind of the tip of the nose right here. Okay, the mouth line will go in between, halfway in between the nose and the jaw. The brow line and the eye line and the tops of your ears are going to be over here. So let's just put kind of a wide straight line across this for a minute. And then over here on the side, we can kind of mark where those ears will eventually be. Okay. And then this mark, although it can move up or down depending on the character you're drawing, is kind of the hairline, where our forehead meets the top of our hair. And that's going to be different for other people. Believe me, I'm losing mine already. All right, so let's get into it. This looks really rough right now, but as we start to sketch it in, you're going to see it come together. All right, so we said that the eyes are going to go along this line. And what I'm going to do is just kind of sketch in here these little almond shapes. Okay, I'm using my pencil brush, and I'm doing this very softly just to put in these little almondy shapes like this. And obviously, depending on the style you're drawing in, you could go larger or smaller. If you want that anime cartoon look to it, if you want something a little bit more realistic, you've got some options for how to do that just by making the eyes bigger. Okay, so there's my eyes right there. And I can kind of indicate where the pupils will be just by putting a little soft circle right there. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just marking it out. Okay, here's where my nose is, and I've made the little bridge of our nose right here. The bottom part of the nose is going to be here, and the nostrils will just curve up like this. Okay, you might even want to put a little curve around the outside here for the nostril. I know this circle looks a little bit weird, but remember, this is just our sketch. We're going to hide all this later on when we draw it for real. Okay. Now down in between, I've got some space here where I can start to put my mouth in. And for a mouth, we can just do, kind of a curve like this for the upper lip. I'll just put that in. And then another curve down below for the bottom lip. Okay. Real basic, depending on the size of your character's mouth. And then the chin, we're going to round off a little bump here at the bottom. And we're going to have this extend out and start to curve right along this sideline here. Okay, again, I'm keeping this really loose at this moment. Okay, and even though it looks pretty sketchy, it's still going to look all right. Okay, so I can move my ears a little bit too far out. I'm going to fix that in just a second. Maybe I'll move this nose bit a little bit lower. Okay, just take my eraser here and I can, it's a sketch, so we can afford to get a little bit messy. And we'll just put that ear. Remember, the top of the ear is going to be lined up with the brow line there. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in. We'll curve this off. We'll curve this off. You know, the little squiggle in the ears there. And then we said their hairline is going to be right along this bit. So I'm just going to put a little hairline and curve it down to where their sideburns would be. And then depending on what kind of haircut they have, you know, if they have like a buzz cut, you can go straight up the sides. You can kind of curve this over a little bit. Mine's a little bit sketchy right here, but I think you guys get the idea. Okay. So cool. Already, I've got a pretty well-developed face just from this sketch. I'll put in where his eyebrows would be, and you know, everybody has different bushiness to their eyebrows. We can clean that up, but this is looking pretty good already. Okay. And all I had to do was follow those guidelines, okay, to mark in my spots. Now, if I wanted to change this character up and create different hairstyles, I can go in with my eraser and, you know, just erase out this hairline. Let's take this out for a second and come over to my pencil. And let's say that they've got, you know, kind of longer bangs that are coming down into their face here. I'll just scribble that in and have this come down. And then I can have this go up a little bit more like that. If it's a girl with longer hair, you can just have the hair kind of curl down around the edges here. Whoa, we had a line there, Roper. Okay. And as you draw more faces, you'll start to notice kind of the difference between features, you know, and how high to make the hair. It just takes practice. I don't try to draw every single strand of hair. What I do is I draw the shape of the hair first, and then I go in and clean up and add a few detail lines. Oops, let me go back here. Take that back a few steps, and I can add detail lines in to change up the look of the hair itself. I can also, you know, if I want them to have a shaved head like I've got, I can just round this up, kind of round off the top corner here. And whoa, that's pretty bad, but you get the idea. I'm going to turn my smoothing up on this brush just to help myself out here a little bit. We'll just curve around something more like that. Okay. And then you can play around with the different shapes of the mouth. Some people have a really prominent little divot under their nose here where their lip line is. So you might want to put in one of those. Or, you know, if they're older and they've got some age lines, you can put some lines right there. If they have really strong cheekbones, you can sketch in cheekbones, or maybe they have a brow line right here. It just really takes observing different people and seeing how their faces are different. Okay, do they have a thick neck or do they have a thinner neck? We can put those neck lines in wherever we want them to go. Okay, something that's kind of interesting that you can do with this is, let's say that I'm not happy with a sketch and I want to try from a different angle. I just hide that line and open up a new layer and work from that. I'm going to go grab a photo really quick of a celebrity to use as my sketch and see how well this technique works out for it. I'll be right back. So this is pretty interesting. I went and grabbed a picture of Henry Cavill, you know, who plays Superman. He's got this very kind of classic hero face, hero features, big strong chin, big heavy brow. And when I brought this image in and I enlarged it up so that his nose lines up to that nose line, his mouth gets really close to the mouth line, his jaw hits perfect, his hairline's almost exactly on that line. This is a really good example of someone who matches this Loomis method of drawing. So what I can do to practice this is I'm just going to turn down the opacity on Henry Cavill's layer here, and I'm going to go up to my sketch layer again. Let's select all on that layer and I'll delete it. And let's see if we can kind of sketch in his features here just to get comfortable with this technique. I'll take my pencil tool and I'm going to make a mark here where I see his nostrils and the little curves of his nose. He's got a little bit of a bump right there. We're going to put in his eye lines, drawing that similar olive shape that I had a minute ago. Okay. I'll come over here and sketch this in. Add the pupils, add a little pupils right there. I'll give him a little curve under there. I can see he's got the curve of the nose, And I can scratch in some brow lines here, or some eyebrows. Let's just make these a little bit rough. Looks pretty good. Give him a little bit of a lazy eye, but you get the idea. I'll give him his little curve of his mouth and some really faint lines for the top lip and the bottom lip. He's got a little bump right there. There's his chin line, which is going to come up. Let's try that. Ooh. He's got his jawline, which is going to come up this way and come down over on this side like this. I'll put in the curves of his ears. And I'll tell you guys, this method that I'm showing you right now of just drawing over the top of photos, by the time you do this several times, you really start to get a feel for how the face is constructed. And you'll start to just remember where all these pieces go so you can draw it yourself. Okay. It's a great way to practice. There's definitely nothing wrong with using reference when you're first starting out as an artist. I'm going to box out the outline of where his hairline is here. Okay. You notice I'm not trying to draw every strand of hair. I'm just drawing the general shape. And then I go back in and I put in some brush lines like there to kind of show where his hair curves out. We'll put a little one right there. Okay. We'll give him his little dimple. He's got some pretty strong cheekbones on the side there. And let's go ahead and hide that photo. Okay. Not a bad version of this. And I did it using that Loomis method. Okay. Now, going forward, once you have your sketch in place, you might want to try going over this with ink. And so if I hit add a new layer here, I can lock up my sketch. I can go to the ink layer. And usually in comic book art, what we do is we draw in pencil first, and then we come over and we go back over it with a nice ink brush. I'm going to go into my Mega Pack, and I know there's a great ink brush in there. Let's find one that's got kind of a nice smooth brush to it. This Belgian Comics one's great. Use this lots of times. And we'll just turn up our smoothing. And then you can either turn down the opacity on your sketch, just like we did with the photo, or come up to the ink layer and just use this ink brush to darken up those lines that you drew in the first step. Okay. This gives it a more polished and more solid feel. It creates the kind of finished artwork that you would need if you were going to add color and do this as like a graphic novel or a animation. Okay. And I'm doing this kind of quick, so bear with me here. But you can see already I get some nice, thicker, smoother lines with this ink brush. So I really encourage you guys, try this out. We have a little bit of extra time today to work. And this is one way that you can drastically improve your drawing skills in a really short amount of time. And you can save copies of what you've drawn as JPEGs and then just clear out all the other layers besides the guides and start again. And you can use this template over and over again the next time you're drawing heads. Okay. Good luck to today, guys. And I can't wait to see what you make.